Wonder Woman 1984, it's a movie that exists. All right, let's set something straight right now. I am a comic book nerd, so I love my heroes. It doesn't need to be comic accurate. I need to love it, appreciate it. I need the passion that I have behind it put into the movie. So when there's a movie like Wonder Woman, the first one's good. I'll talk about that someday, hopefully. But 1984, there's something about it. It just feels off. I think it really started when, I think from the first scene, you can already tell this is a different kind of Wonder Woman movie. You have, who is it? Ram, who in the comics, she's like, not her mother, but the military trainer, if you guys have ever seen the movie. By the way, spoilers for this video, so please, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this. Basically telling Diana that she took the short path and she cheated, and she doesn't let Diana explain herself. Anyone that's read the comics or source material, you know that Ron is not that kind of person. She's the, if it works kind of solution, and that really upset me, but it's a movie, I let it slide, it's whatever. But then flash forward to 1984 and we see Gal Gadot, or Wonder Woman, and she's basically just lonely. She's not like that at all, and it really sets the character apart. So I feel like there's a difference between taking a filmer's vision and staying true to material. And I feel like the director just doesn't really find that fine line. It's a very tricky line to work, very gray area, and it's really, the effects are clear, and a lot of people didn't like this movie. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and do a full movie review through it. So basically, Gal Gadot, or Wonder Woman, whoever you want to call her, she is essentially going through a period of loneliness, and it wasn't until that Barbara Ann, her new co-worker, stumbles upon and it needs to help the FBI investigate a bunch of stolen artifacts from a jewelry store that we saw Wonder Woman stop and prevent the theft of earlier.
Quick note here. I know I'm talking pretty fast, but that is the pace of the movie.
Furthermore, then we figure out that Barbara is not that well liked, and this is one of my biggest issues with any movie. Look at this nerd types. This drives me nuts. If you guys have seen the Honest trailer video on Wonder Woman 1984, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll just put the clip in, they sum it up so well.
She's a cute, funny, brilliant scientist who... never mind, she's a loser who drops her papers and can't walk in heels. Boo this nerd. Boo her. Nerd.
And see, that is exactly what Barbara Ann is. And in the comics, she's like that, but she's not a nerdy, whatever you want to call it. She becomes Cheetah later down the line. And so she becomes Cheetah later down the line. And basically, she wishes upon the rock that she wants to be just like Wonder Woman, but she doesn't know that Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman yet. There's a lot of mischief going around, I guess. I think that was the overarching theme of the movie, which means my next point is that the whole theme of the movie, there's not really a theme. I mean, throughout the entire sequence, we just kind of see careful what you wish for, but then we see good versus evil and selfishness and narcissist, and then we see success versus tropes, and then Cold War tension. There's so much going on throughout this movie. I can't even focus on a timeline linear enough to explain right now. Like that's not good. Something else that really, really grinded my gears in this scene is that, yeah, I get that she might not understand what the rock is, but Wonder Woman is the daughter of Zeus. You would think that she would understand the rock's history. I mean, for peep's sakes, Barbara Ann spent 4 hours digging through stuff and found the rock, and literally like every break of civilization collapse, she could figure that and put that together. You're telling me the woman that speaks over 600 languages couldn't do that and read the language of gods? The rock is in Latin, but you'll see when Pedro uses it, basically it shrinks down and there's a ring with the language of the gods on it, and that's the mischief, the god of, I can't remember what the god was, I'm not sure. Anyways, so they discover that the rock is probably a fake because the stone used for it is a fake, which is very telling of how the rock actually works. It grants you a wish, but at a big price, the one thing that you covet. So the one thing that you covet could mean anything. For Wonder Woman, it's her powers. Barbara, it's her upbeat personality. Pedro, it's his son. You don't really know. And there's this whole sequence of Pedro basically saying, I'm not a con man, I'm not a Ponzi schemer, I'm not doing this. And that's how we meet Pedro. It's funny too, because that would have you believe that he is. Because look at these first few scenes. He's walking into like this mansion of an office kind of area, and like you would expect like tons of staff. This guy's probably a very successful billionaire. And then he gets to an office and it's just empty. No one there, nobody at all, besides his son and then the investor. So this investor, I'm not even sure if he's named in the credits or anything like that, but he basically says that he got conned and he's a sucker investor and that he demands his money back now. Pedro just says, just wait. And then, would you all be it, Pedro knows about this rock and its effect and what it can do, and he knows that it was in the jewelry heist. So when he gets word from Barbara that they have the rock there, he immediately goes to like this creepy, seducey archetyped character. And that upset me because Maxwell, so for those who don't know, he's Maxwell in the comics. Maxwell is, how do I describe it? He's basically a military agent with hyper intelligence. And seeing him like this as a character, I wasn't that mad. Good for the story, I guess, to move forward and talk about women's rights in a movie where women's rights are probably one of the most important things to talk about. Watching him become that person, I feel like they were pushing a message that I wasn't agreeing with. They changed so much and I just kind of lost interest. And then we got into the second act of the movie and this, all right, let's just be clear. I hate the movie from here on out. Hate it. Didn't like a single thing, but I will say this. This was the most fun I've had watching a movie in theaters in so long. It's also the only movie I've watched in theaters for so long, but oh my gosh. I can't recall a scene I wasn't just looking over at my friends and just dying laughing. Like, unironically, I can't. Oh, the second half of the movie. That clock says it all. All right, so Steve will be joining us in the second half now because it turns out that in an earlier scene, Diana actually wished for him to be alive again in her head, but it's been proven that you can't wish in your head, you have to say it out loud when you're touching the rock, and that's just a retcon, and then they go back and explain that particles or something. The movie just, it loses its tropes here. So then Steve and Diana, they go through like this, basically 30-second love story again. They fall in love again, but Steve's in a different body. No one else sees Steve. And no one questions how Diana went from being the loneliest person on the planet to having a full-on, basically, husband. And this drives me nuts. Barbara doesn't say anything about it. Her boss doesn't say anything about it. Pedro doesn't say anything about it. It's just...
Once again, that is the pace of the movie.
Oh, by the way, if I'm confusing you, I'm calling Pedro Maxwell because the actor's name is Pedro, and I don't want to say that he's Maxwell. I also call Gal Gadot Wonder Woman because they changed her name, and I don't even know what they changed it to in the movies. So, furthermore, basically in phase 2, we're going to go ahead and see Pedro or Maxwell just take over the entire world with this rock because he wishes himself to be the rock itself. Yeah, I don't follow it either. I don't know. He does this first by basically making sure those initial investors either pay or they get their money back. So he does this by immediately wishing that this guy's company would end over and he'd take full control of it. So he does that first. You can see that his intentions aren't pure. They're not good. And then we also see him go ahead and divert over to the Middle East where he's going to try and make as many oil trade agreements as you can. And this is another thing that really frustrated me in movies, that the powers of the rock is so unclear because he talks to, I can't even remember his name. He talks to basically a feudal landowner over, I think they're in Saudi Arabia. Talks to a feudal landowner and he says that I will grant you your land back, your power, your land will never have to worry about foreign invasion again in exchange for your oil. So he grants the wish, and then the guy, he goes, oh, I already sold all my oil to the Russians. So he gets his land back, and in exchange, Maxwell has this ability to make the consequence so bad. He builds a wall separating the city from everyone else to protect from foreign invasion, and the people that live there, they just disappear. If they weren't native Philly, they disappear. It makes no sense. So now when he renounces his wish, those people come back. I don't know. So basically, here's what is going on again. So Steve is going to go ahead. He looks at a jet. He goes, yeah, I want to fly that. So he flies that. This is, of course, after his 1980 world tour. And this annoyed me too. Like, he's not dumb. Like, trains have been around since the 1800s. It's a subway train. That's a garbage can. Those have been around since garbage. I don't know. Just a little pinpoint there. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and see just a whole entry of random writing, I guess. Barbara becomes hot. You know how they do this? She takes off her glasses. Warner Brothers. Why'd you do Barbara like that? Why'd you do her dirty like that? I don't understand. And then this loses the whole movie's overarching theme of how you can be a powerful, independent woman, but you can't be this. That really was... And then, once again, second half movie, we have, I think, 8 themes, 13 retcons, and 2 quotes that make absolutely no sense in the context of the movie. Like I said earlier, though, this was the most fun I've ever had watching a movie in theater. Like, there are just parts that I just watch, and I'm just like, this is so bad. I love it. Anyways, phase 2, nothing really happens. The world falls into destruction, and then he flies a jet. They fly back. Besides the point, phase 3, I'll just sum it up. There's this hilarious flying scene that looks like it was out of 2005 Spy Kids. Wonder Woman wishes away Steve, and then she uses the lasso of truth to speak to the entire planet. I've been reading these comics since, that's how I learned how to read. I don't think I've ever seen the lasso of truth used for that. It made no sense to me. And there's also this whole weird thing with Maxwell wanting to touch the entire world with particles. Basically, she gets God Killer armor. Adeline? I can't remember her name exactly, but basically there's this Amazonian, not a god, just a warrior, and the men tribe are attacking the women, so the women put all their armor together and built this suit designed to fend off any army. What really made no sense to me is that this thing was designed to literally kill 1,000 men and defend yourself and protect. And one freaking girl who looks like she's straight out of the Cats movie rips it apart. Anyways, Wonder Woman once again uses the lasso of truth, speaks to the entire world on some unexplained event, and everyone renounces their wish. This is what really cracked us up. So we got in the car and we're like, what if like Bruce Wayne like wished for his parents back? We're just like, it's terrible to say, but we just kind of looked at each other like, he had to renounce his wish? Oh, that's terrible. It's awful. It's terrible is what I'm trying to say. The movie, like I said, there's so many things they don't address, and there's so many things they just turn an eye away from, and that's really what turned me off. And the second thing that really turned me off, there is no 80s music in a movie set in 1984. You had Bon Jovi. You had Motley Crue. You had Boston. You had Van Halen. You had AC/DC. You had the Rolling Stones. You had the best music of all time, and you didn't use a single one. I don't know, like I said, very fun movie to watch. Get a couple friends, lean back, don't take it too serious. Overall, I rate this movie 5.5 out of 10.